Great. Thank you, everybody, for this fantastic session. There are still some comments in the Slido if you want to go check those out and continue some of that discussion there. Next, it's my honor to introduce Dr. Suchi Rastogi. She's the CEO and Executive Director of the Disability in Medicine Mutual Mentorship Program, DM3P, and is a Master's of Public Health candidate at the University of Illinois at Chicago. She'll be introducing our and moderating discussion with our final speaker of the day.
Hi, everyone. I'm Suchita Rastogi, or you can just call me Suchi. I am a South Asian woman, and I'm wearing a dark green shirt, and it's mostly white in my background. And I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Zoey Martin-Lockhart, who will be presenting Disability is the Connective Tissue, Building Alternative Medical Cultures Through the Prism of Disability as Identity, Methodology, and Consciousness.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zoey, and I am a PhD candidate in anthropology and a master's student in epidemiology at the University of Illinois, Chicago. For a visual description, I am a white woman with dark blonde hair just below my shoulders, wearing a blue shirt, a black jacket, and a little costume jewelry green flower brooch. My slides are mostly text with a few line sketches, mostly abbreviated summaries of what I'm saying or quotes that I will read. My research looks at how disabled and chronically ill medical students and doctors engage in community creation, networking, mentorship, and advocacy as they navigate medicine. These communities take many forms, varying in structure, size, institutional relationships, and this second slide also features a photo of me and my dog, who is small with black curly hair. Today, I'm sharing just a slice of my research and initial findings. My research is ongoing, and I'd really love to hear your feedback, questions, critiques, everything. I'll share my contact information at the end. A note on language: I use disability as an umbrella term for disability and chronic illness, and I use both person first and identity first language. My research is informed by a feminist and CRIP methodology, meaning it's grounded in lived disability experience and critical analysis of power. I used mixed methods that constellate into ethnographic research. First, I do participant observation with disability medical communities. Basically, with consent, I hang out, observe, and might volunteer with groups. The backstage of this conference is an example. So I'm actually here with Dr. Poullos, and the participant experience is itself data. Second, I conduct in-depth interviews with people with disability in medicine and their allies. And third, a newly launched anonymous survey will be the backbone of my epidemiology master's thesis. To protect participants, I use a variety of narrative techniques, including pseudonyms, narratively splitting and combining interlocutors, anthropology's word for participants, and I consult interlocutors about how I'm using interviews as I go. As we start, I actually want to invite you all to join the conversation. This is an opt-in thing. You can respond to this prompt in the poll tab in Slido, which is circled on this image here. We'll check out results in a word cloud at the end. So the prompt is, in a word or two, what is distinctive about disability in medicine spaces? It could be a feeling, behaviors, something material, anything. So centering disability experience is a core methodology of disability medical communities. But what methods are used to create a space that does that? Across assorted groups and networks, I noticed many of the same principles and practices repeating in various forms. I streamlined my findings in this chart, which shows 4 overarching principles. These principles I modeled as composed of specific component methods and subcomponent practices that enact the principles. I will read each principle and its methods and then list a few practices from across them. And I'm happy to share this later, just reach out. The first principle is an ethic of collaboration and interdependence. Its methods are listening and openness to feedback, intentional inclusiveness, strength sourcing, and collective resource sharing. Those are enacted through practices like regarding disability as an attribute, dividing tasks by strength and capacity, and opening meetings with check-ins. The second principle is sustainability, individual and collective, operationalized in methods like supporting members and protecting against burnout, prioritizing well-being, using disability-inclusive pacing and logistics that factor in unpredictability and unknowns, and passing along institutional knowledge. Core practices here are creating redundancy, anticipating health leaves, and explicitly valuing people for who they are, not for what they produce. Cooperative agency and autonomy is the third principle, visible in methods like valuing individuals' self-knowledge and strength development. I use strength development to describe practices like intentionally creating resume-building opportunities for members and selecting applicants for roles that facilitate their growth and aspirations. Members are also encouraged to share their needs and project ideas. Fourth, a common principle is dedication to health equity. That is seen in intergroup collaborations and attention to the interconnectedness of oppressions. Some of these items, namely shared decision-making and various inclusivity strategies, were actually identified at the recent MSDCI regional conference by Dr. Rastogi and by Dr. Jarrell, and many were reflected in the conference design itself. So this is a model structuring something much more amorphous. In reality, these principles, methods, and practices intertwine. They constellate into a set of values, beliefs, and norms, fundamental components of culture. As I've said, I've heard some principles across contexts, and some are voiced here by one organizer welcoming new members. Quote, "Life happens, we get it. You know, your well-being and studies come first, so please ask for support or advice whenever you need it. We all get it. We've been there. We're all going through it in many ways. We're here to support each other, and as always, just, you know, be kind to one another. Just give each other grace." Close quote. But does the wider community align with organizers? One interlocutor told me about a disabled speaker who paused mid-talk. Quote, "They got brain fog and were really tired. And so then they said, 'I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pause here because I'm tired. I need a moment to collect myself. Everybody else, feel free to collect themselves too.' And then they just sat there and rested. And I was like, no, people are going to get so mad at them. And the comments in the chat were the opposite. They were like, 'Oh, you rock. Thank you for modeling this for us.'" End quote. To me, this shows that these norms and values are deeply embedded. These communities are creating a new disability medical culture that stands in stark contrast with traditional hegemonic medical culture. The capability imperative, a phrase coined by Dr. Nira Jain, captures traditional medical ideology that a good physician is superhuman, independent, confident, subtly superior to patients, and selfless, free from needs, and universally capable. Networks of medical students and doctors with disability are, I believe, exerting an influence on larger medical culture. Certainly, that is their intention. Quote, "I'd like to create something that medicine could emulate. I want to walk the walk instead of just preaching how the culture should be in medicine. an interlocutor told me. But then, how does lived disability and chronic illness experience inform the type of doctor someone is, and how they experience, how their experiences inform the way that they act with patients? Interlocutors were actually fairly consistent. This next table mirrors the first, but it synthesizes interlocutors' approach to clinical practice. The first overarching principle is deep engagement with the patient, using methods and practices like paying attention to the emotional dimension of care, or enacting deliberate care by listening deeply and taking time with each patient, or comfort with transparency and uncertainty by telling a patient if you don't know something, or by appropriately disclosing disability. The second principle of longitudinal thinking and care approaches includes lateral thinking that integrates patients' larger context and aims for longevity in patient relationships. A third principle is focus on patients' priorities and quality of life, operationalized by legitimizing patients and their self-knowledge, honoring patient autonomy and interdependence, and practicing humility. So this could mean finding small ways to improve patients' independence and prioritizing patient goals over a medicalized focus on cure. Fourth, interlocutors again expressed dedication to engagement with health equity issues. These practices strike me as being about the nature or type of doctor folks strive to be, so their ontology. Medical disability epistemologies, like situated disability knowledge, may inform providers' care approaches as suggested by scholars like Neera Jain, Rosemary Garland Thompson, Lisa Iazoni, Lisa Meeks, Irene Sturgiopoulos, Maria Marimianakis, and Justin Bullock. A few examples from interlocutors themselves. Quote, I want my doctor to Google something because I want them to be able to say that they don't know everything, close quote. And, quote, because of my lived experience, I think I tend a lot more to the emotions of illness than I probably otherwise would. I've been the patient, and people actually say, like, you have a chronic illness that you're going to be dealing with for the rest of your life, and you're balancing all this stuff, like, are you okay? It means a lot to me. When you do ask a question that's the hard one, and then they come back with an equally hard response, I think the thing that I've learned is that, like, you don't necessarily have to have a solution. Saying, like, hey, if you're feeling down over these next few weeks after this diagnosis, just know that that's normal. You can normalize the experience. A different interlocutor expressed that, quote, I want the rapport and relationship with patients where they don't feel like if they haven't done something that you ask them to do, that you're going to be mad. It's not like they're failing you. It's like, how can we work together to make this better? A different trainee told me I once made a standardized patient cry by bringing up the 5 wishes framework that centers patients' end-of-life priorities. All of this echoes the recurrent argument that disabled people are better doctors because they relate to patients and understand the system in ways others don't. A while ago on a dog walk, I was struck by something. The community methods and clinician methods I was hearing map onto each other very closely. This diagram shows community principles on the left and clinician principles on the right, each pointing inward to one of 4 central tenets, which I've summarized as collaborative presence, deliberative care, interdependent agency, and health equity. Medical anthropologist Amy Moran-Thomas uses the term slow care to describe an approach to health, illness maintenance, and support grounded in deliberateness, attention to detail, and relationality rather than in medicalized cure or efficiency. The methods I've described remind me of slow care. What resonated was the intentionality, tolerance of ambiguity, empathy, working with discomfort rather than turning away from it. An alternative word, patience, encapsulates much of this. Thus, I arrived at describing the kind of relationality emerging in disability medical networks as patient care. It's care given to patients by patients who are also physicians or trainees with styles informed by their own patienthood. A lineage of really great scholars and advocates have documented the unique aptitudes of the patient provider. Patient care reminds us how these disabled clinicians care for each other too. So what is at stake? What are the impacts of these disability medical communities, particularly the near peer groups and networks? First is a ready definition of the possible. Many interlocutors described their first encounters with disabled students and doctors as transformational for their imagination of what they could achieve. Second, belonging and community is the sustenance, sometimes found only with fellow disabled healthcare trainees and professionals. From interlocutors themselves, quote, I didn't know anyone who was disabled or who had been managing chronic health problems and was in medicine or, still practicing. So joining a group kind of gave me a community, and I felt like I really needed that to feel secure in my belonging in medicine. This individual then also joined a plethora of institutional extracurriculars. Another trainee reported, quote, I met somebody who was the first knowingly, shall we say, autistic doctor that I had met. And that was huge because I'd been wondering, like, is this a thing you can do? Is this going to work? Like, how's that going to go? Just knowing that there was at least one person out there and we were able to chat a bit on Zoom and by email, it was amazing. The crucial role of disability community space, where people get it and communicate in disability shorthand, is documented in Neera Jain's 2019 article, Political Disclosure. And belonging is supported by, number 3, a hybrid shared understanding. As an outsider to medicine, I see the unique combined experience of disability and medical expertise forming an insider vernacular that also begets belonging. This hybridity is visible in casual interactions and in events groups organized, which frequently combine personal narrative with clinical disability content. For example, at a talk, a physician conversationally was presenting her personal narrative and suddenly dropped several technical terms. I was flustered, while my medical trainee friend didn't even notice the specialty lingo. The physician then shared several scans to illustrate physical function change for those who were able to decode them, not me. Fourth, collective exchange of advice, mentorship, materials, brainstorming, empathizing, and stories via chats or at interstitial moments in meetings is a constant, a resource, and the glue in disability medical communities. I term this phenomenon narrative collectivity. I would argue that these shared resources constitute a 5th dimension of culture, artifacts. One interlocutor reflected that probably I wouldn't have been able to go to medical school because I would have no idea how to navigate this field without having the support. Like, I'm not alone. Another stated definitively, I know with certainty that I would not be working without a disability in medicine group. So near the end of a different interview, an experienced physician described, quote, learning from someone else about different paths that are possible, learning from somebody about an experience that they've had and how they navigated it, and then taking some, whether it's like some skills from that or some solace in knowing that you're not the first person to go through it, or some ideas for how you might navigate it. I had asked her to define mentorship. So I've been thinking about how this work might expand understandings of mentorship and whether all these little interstitial exchanges are themselves a form of it. I now want to thank you all for listening and quickly acknowledge all the citations and intellectual heritage and inspiration that I've had for this. Some additional dimensions of my research include the role of digital and social media, and I just launched a survey to complete my epidemiology master's, and I'm also continuing interviews, so you all are welcome to participate, and there's links here. So I would love to hear from all of you. What's your feedback? What are your experiences? And let's also see if maybe we can get the word cloud working as well. I will stop this share for now and figure out the word cloud situation really fast too.
Thank you so much, Zoe. That was a really powerful presentation. I am looking at the Slido. I do see the polls are up for anybody who wants to look at the word cloud. As for commentary that came in, there was one question, and I'll read it to you, but I'm not sure if it applies to you versus the previous session. Someone asked, there's a trend in specialty medicine to practice cash only, and many charge several $1,000s just to get an initial visit, and the wait list can be months, if not years, or they aren't taking new patients. So how can the care these specialists provide be more accessible? And I don't know if that maps onto some of your themes or the ways that the health professionals community with disabilities relates to each other and to patients. Maybe that's an angle you could take to addressing the question.
I'm thinking about it. I feel like it may have been more meant for the last session. I mean, there's obvious things like, can you do a sliding scale? Or I was talking about concierge medicine actually with somebody very recently, and we were thinking about how disability fit in that. Like maybe it's a good option for disabled physicians, but then how do you like worry about accessibility of all sorts of kinds, right? Like financial and even like intercultural stuff. So I think I'm raising more questions than I'm answering, but that's where my
Yeah.
brain went. Do you have thoughts? I also want to invite you to be part of this whole conversation as well.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of wonder whether some of these folks who are running clinics that are very specialty, often treating zebras and can't get money in some, insurance way of doing it, they kind of have to operate this way. But I have a feeling that those who might have these conditions and are in the health professions, I wonder if they're more thoughtful about charging people a lot of money to receive these services. And they might be more likely to put in sliding scales. I know one particular provider who wanted to do a mast cell activation syndrome clinic, and he himself, I think, either had the disease or um, just really strongly identified with that community. I don't know if that's a very non-scientific observation though, so it might not have validity. Um, I'm not seeing any other questions, but there is a comment in the chat that your research feels very accurate to one of the respondents' experiences as a disabled medical student. And she talks about gathering stories from an underground network to keep her going or to keep them going through. I do have one question myself for you. And oh, never mind. Somebody else asked a question and they wanted to know what has been the most satisfying in your research?
That's a really interesting question. I think finding how inclusive people are and open to each other has been really encouraging, because in a lot of academic environments, there's like a lot of collective brainstorming and collegiality, and then also just people are stressed out and sort of separate themselves. And I've heard a lot of that in medicine. And I found that when I've shown up to places digitally or otherwise, people have just been really interested in each other, even if they're not similar to each other in tons of different ways. Or if someone like acts a little awkward and like doesn't make eye contact or disappears for 2 hours or like laughs weird or whatever it is, right? That you all are like, we're all aware of ourselves doing this kind of thing. No one cares. No one asks questions about it. Like it actually seems to make people like each other more. And there's been like an ethic of including people always, that I just don't see to the same level elsewhere. And it's really delightful and makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can echo that. Just not being a researcher, but watching the community, it very much feels that way.
Yeah. So someone, I will just say, put in, how does one find a disability network as a physician? That's a really good question. There's a number of groups that are pretty well known publicly. Maybe other folks can reply and put them in the chat there, but like some that I'm immediately aware of, right, would be MSDCI, which I mentioned, which is largely medical students. There's the group that Suchi runs, which for transparency, I've helped out with, which is Disability in Medicine Mutual Mentorship Program. Dr. Poullos from his kitchen just put in volunteer with SMATI, which is putting on this conference. There's DocMed, which is the Disability Advocacy Coalition in medicine. They're sometimes local, just like may not have a name, but it's some people and their friends. If you're in other countries, I know that at least I think like the UK, Australia, Canada, and maybe some others, India, all have groups. So Google is a really good resource. Reddit, weirdly. Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you. Oh,
Well, I was
yes,
just going to say we're out of time, so I'll hand it back to you.
great. Thank you, Suchi. Thank you, Zoe, for that, for ending us on such a high note with that. We're coming to the end of the day. So we will, ooh, where'd it go? Wait, hold on. All right. My screen share.
I'm back.
All right. Oh, Pete's back. Yay. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel just so energized by the amazing talks that we've heard today, the through line of content and themes that we heard about, the importance of both data but also personal narratives, the power of community and connection and working together. Yeah, Pete, what are your thoughts?
I'm just thinking that, Zoe's and many people have expressed this idea of interdependence as being preferable to independence, and I can personally vouch for that. I've been unfortunately struck with exhaustion and dysautonomia for most of the day and have been out of commission. And you, as my co-chair, built-in redundancy, have like taken over hosting for me, and I so appreciate that. I just admire all of the courage of the students and young faculty that are taking on these challenges despite, risks to their career. Um, I'm a little saddened by the word cloud, to be honest. I felt like, I guess our experience, Ken, I think is we're just really fortunate to be in a system and to have a network where, the word I put in there for this, how I feel about disability in medicine is acceptance, because I work with you and our remarkable team at Stanford and DM3P, and I find like, when we come together as our disabled community, um, I feel like acceptance and love. And for me, it's so meaningful because my spinal cord injury was now 23 years ago, and I've really struggled with my identity since then. And I finally at a point in my life um, and with my career that I'm able to lean into my disability in this community, and it feels really good. But I realize that so many people may be alone. They might be the only one because, as our speakers pointed out, 80% of disabilities are invisible. So unfortunately, you could have two disabled people sitting right next to each other, both afraid to confide in the other one about their disability. So, yeah, those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, I think it just hammers home how important having spaces like this it is, and the power of political disclosure and us sharing our stories. Yeah, I think.
I mean, I think for community, DM3P, I think is probably the best bet for people to get involved with. I mean, with immediate community, including like monthly meetings, the Discord group, a listserv where people can ask questions, a network of people that you can sort by disability. I have mast cell activation syndrome. Is there anybody else in DM3P has it? And quickly you would have some people to talk to. I think so. DM3P, and then of course MSDCI National has over 50 chapters. It must be now. So um, people can check and see if there is a chapter at their school. If not, there is a toolkit for starting your own MSDCI chapter. And I know that the pre-existing MSDCI national chapters or the leadership would be more than excited to help somebody start their own chapter and community at their school. And then of course, SMATI we have our monthly community meetings, and we certainly have enough projects going on that need more manpower, that if people are looking for ways to get involved, they can email me or you, or our email is stanfordsmatty@stanford.edu. So
We'll
there
put
are
that in the
ways.
Slido. We'll put that address in the Slido.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great. Shall we move on to our housekeeping things before we go?
Sure.
All right, just a few housekeeping things before we go. As we mentioned at the beginning, we're very proud that we've been able to put this conference on now this is our 7th year. We've done this all free to our attendees. It grew from something that we thought was going to be a small in-person conference, and then ended up pivoting to a fully virtual conference, which actually ended up being a boon for accessibility and opened it up to all of you from all over, not just the country, but all over the world to participate. But with that growth, there's also some costs that kind of come with that as well. The accessibility needs, having our ASL interpreters, our captioners, and our fantastic tech team. And so anything that you all can do to help to support this so that we can continue to bring this to you for free, or to people who aren't able to pay for free, would be greatly appreciated. It's like we're making like the PBS public
Yeah.
TV
I
pitch.
mean, if you're still here and you haven't donated, please pick up your phone, point it at the QR code, and donate something. Whatever you feel this day was worth to you, or whatever you can afford, please do that. In addition to the conference, we have other programming throughout the year and other needs that have to do with the conference, but also with the programming we put on for National Disability Employment Awareness Month. With last year included a screening of Change Not Charity, chronicling the rise of the passing of the ADA. What else, Ken?
Yes. Oh, another cost. It also costs money to do CME. But so if you're getting, oh, we haven't got to that, sorry. Well, let's also thank our sponsors, the National Board of Medical Examiners, which has provided us with a generous grant over this last couple of years, and especially to medical students with disability and chronic illness, the Department of Radiology, and also the Stanford Healthcare Office of Community Engagement, which I don't see listed here, but they're also very, oh, they're there. No, hold on.
Oh, this is the old slide.
Well, we also thank all these other departments as well.
Shoot. Yeah, the Office of Faculty Development and Engagement pays for part of our administrative support and part of my salary, which is amazingly generous. The Stanford Healthcare Office of Belonging and
Community.
They also are very generous funders to SMATI and to the conference. I wish we had. Why don't you pull up the other deck? So the intro deck.
Okay.
We can keep talking. People are, I'm sure,
If you're still here,
by our banter. To the two people still here on
if
on
they're
our
still
live
here, they're not
streaming
going to
page.
mind. They don't mind. Right. Oh, hold on. It's opening.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
The Department of Radiology is I think our largest funder because they pay for 30% of my time off the clinical schedule to run SMATI with you, which for a radiologist is not a trivial amount of money. They also provide Katie Pontius, who is our event planner, and without whom we absolutely could not plan a conference of this magnitude. They also provide us with our web and graphic design in the form of Amy Thomas. Plus, they also pay for Jean Sullivan and part of also Devorah Cantor, our strategy and engagement director. Also comes part of that comes out of radiology. So huge thanks to my department. Pediatrics also has been a huge supporter. I don't know if they made a specific donation this
Yes,
year.
the Maternal Child Health Institute did as well. Yes.
Yeah, but they made an amazing donation in the form of money and organizational manpower for our positive exposure exhibit, right, which was a huge part of our year last year. So these are the logos of our supporters.
Yes.
You have the CME slide?
Yes, 1 second. Hold on. Oh, sorry.
And also, I had another slide I wanted to show.
Until it's getting to the end of the day as we're getting. As Pete mentioned, huge shout out to our team that did all this. Pete and I have played a very small role in making this happen. It was the folks our team members that really made this happen. First, our event planner, Katie, for all of her great work with this conference. She really keeps us on track and making sure that we have everything together and everything is running smoothly. Also, our communications, strategy, design, administration, and accessibility team that works on communications with our speakers, creating our website, creating the site where you're watching the live stream right now, and communications with all of our funding sources. Also, thank you to our captioners and ASL interpreters. Thank you as well to our technology team, led by Alice and Tom, along with Louis, Ellen, Eric, and Aparna for all of their great work in making this this live stream a reality. And on our social media, hopefully you all are following us. Micey is the brilliant mind behind all of the posts that you've been seeing recently. So please, if you've not already, please give us a follow. Thanks as well to our planning committee, particularly to our RFP review committee, Amy Bagwadia, Claire Russian, and Pri Basavia.
Thank you for not disowning me when I suggested increasing the number of presenters at this year's conference. I love it. I loved it. I thought today the tempo and the momentum was like just really spot on. Just we told people to kind of eliminate most of the introductory material for this advanced audience and get straight to the meat of what your findings are, what your projects are. And I think that worked out really well. So, which I'm so happy about, because I would have felt so bad if it hadn't worked out. But
Everybody
it
was able
did.
to buckle up, and they were along for the
Yes.
ride.
So thanks, Claire, Amy, and Pri.
Yes. Thanks as well to our board of directors, whose names you see here. And thank you, Pete, for bringing me on as a co-chair.
Thank you, Ken, for being my right-hand man.
Yeah.
I love you. Do you
And
love me?
I love you too. Yes. Special shout out to DM3P, the Disability in Medicine Mutual Mentorship Program. If you've enjoyed the community that you've been able to find and communicating with others through the Slido, DM3P is a great place to continue those relationships and connect with other people. It offers, as Pete mentioned, virtual monthly meetings, is built on a mutual mentorship model, and a lot of opportunities to connect with people through multiple different channels. You can go to their website, disabilitymedmentors.org, and sign up. And as I said, make sure you're following us on all of our socials. Scan our QR code. I think that goes to our website. Any last minute thoughts, Pete? I think this is the last slide. Oh, yes. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Want to present next year? We're going to start accepting RFPs again in the fall.
So keep an eye out. And then in the next couple of weeks, look out for an email from us with information about where to access the videos of today's conference. Since it takes a little while to do all the accessibility features with the captions and reviewing the transcripts, it usually takes a couple of weeks to a month or so until we're able to get to that. But please be on the lookout for that, and make sure to let other folks know about the conference. Share the videos widely. Let people know that they can learn from all the material from this year and our previous years. And if they do, that they should also go visit our donation webpage.
Yes, please.
All right. With that, I think we're at time, and we're at the end of our conference day.
Thank you so much to our audience for being with us, and I hope you had an amazing day, as amazing as we had. Ken is laughing at me, or at something. Anyways, thanks everyone. Take care.
Goodbye.